Welcome back, Design Junkies, to Mechanical Engineering Made Simple. If you enjoy the podcast, show your support with a like, a follow, or a comment. Let's keep designing, learning, and leveling up together. Today, we are diving deep into the whole new product development ecosystem, but we're not really looking at the CAD drawings today.
No, not at all.
We're looking at the organizational architecture, the strategies and the tools that actually turn that raw creativity into something that succeeds in the market.
Right.
Our mission is to give you a shortcut to understanding the system you need for real breakthrough design. Because, having the best engineers, that's just not enough if the company's built for tiny improvements instead of real innovation.
Exactly. And we've pulled apart the source material to find the levers that really matter. We basically boiled it down to 4 critical areas.
Okay.
First, strategic alignment and trust. Then, how to manage the transition of those super high-risk projects. Third, developing, a deep customer insight that goes way beyond the obvious. And finally, the big one, user-driven design.
All right, so let's unpack that first one. The whole organizational challenge of trust and strategic alignment. I mean, how do you create an environment where engineers and product teams actually believe that their time spent on risky ideas is a good investment?
Yeah, and not something that's just going to get cut the second their quarterly numbers look a little shaky.
Exactly. So what's the fundamental tool for building that trust?
It has to start with visible, sustained commitment from the very top. The most essential first step is forming an innovation steering committee.
Okay, a steering committee.
And it has to be a subset of the senior management team, and they have to stay actively, consistently involved. The sources say the bare minimum is 1 meeting a month.
1 a month. That regular cadence, that sends a signal then.
It sends a huge signal, says innovation is a real strategic priority, not just a buzzword. And that's how you build trust down in the trenches.
That visibility is so key, because if management only pops up when something's on fire, everyone just learns to avoid risk.
They do. And that committee, their first job is to connect the high-level strategy to what's actually happening on the ground. They need 2 main tools to do this right.
Okay.
The first is running what are called portfolio rollout scenarios.
Now, I know that sounds a little dry, maybe a bit like corporate planning, but the sources really hammer home that this is often a huge aha moment for management. Why is that?
Because it just completely eliminates optimistic guesswork. These scenarios, they paint a realistic picture of the number, the size, the magnitude of products the organization absolutely must launch to hit its financial goals.
So it's the hard numbers.
It's the hard numbers. And when management sees that, it often reveals a really uncomfortable truth.
Which is?
That their current way of doing things, their incremental NPD process, it just can't support the financial targets they've set. It's impossible. It forces them to confront that they need a drastic change.
So it's basically math proving that if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to fail. That's a powerful motivator.
It is. A very powerful motivator. And once that's clear, you need the second tool, product development go-no-go criteria.
And these have to be set up before any ideas are even on the table, right?
Absolutely. Before. The goal is to make sure decisions are based on objective criteria. Market appeal, is it feasible? Does it meet a customer need? Instead of who has the loudest voice in the room.
Right, taking the politics and the personal preference out of it.
Exactly. It brings rigor and consistency to the whole thing.
So once we have that strategic commitment, you inevitably hit the next big wall, the radical innovation no man's land.
Yes.
Incremental projects, they're fine. They fit into a standard stage gate process. But for the really uncertain stuff, breakthrough innovation, those processes just fall apart. Why do the rules break down there?
Because they're a completely different beast. They get hit with 4 types of uncertainty all at the same time.
4 types.
Yeah. A standard gate system is designed to reduce a known risk. Radical projects, they face technical uncertainty, of course, but also huge market uncertainty. Sales forecasts are basically useless because the market might not even exist yet.
Okay, so technical and market, what are the other 2?
You also have resource uncertainty, and this is the critical one, organization uncertainty.
That one sounds like the real killer, the organizational uncertainty. It seems like that's what really stops everything.
It is, because all that uncertainty just wreaks havoc with the business units that are supposed to, eventually receive this project. They have short-term profit pressures.
Right, they're worried about this quarter.
Precisely. It creates this structural gap. The core business is measured on sales volume, on efficiency, They have zero incentive or patience for some radical new thing that might start small and take years to pay off.
So the things you actually need to do, build a supply chain, educate a new market, it all just falls into a void because nobody officially owns that messy middle phase.
Nobody owns it is the perfect way to put it.
So this sounds like a problem you can only really solve structurally. How do you bridge that gap without just killing the project?
The transition management has to isolate the project so it has time to mature. Companies like DuPont, for instance, when they were pioneering their bio-based materials, they'd often form a whole new dedicated business unit for it.
So you build a protective bubble around it.
You do.
Mhm.
Or you see joint ventures, like Corning Glassworks did for things like fiberglass and silicones. Housing the project outside the main business gives it the flexibility it needs and shields it from the tyranny of the quarterly numbers. You have to be so clear about that transition phase. It's not R&D anymore, but it's not a profitable business yet either.
Okay, let's shift from that internal structure to getting external insight. We all talk about the voice of the customer, but, traditional market research often just confirms what you already think.
Right, it's good for evaluating existing ideas, not finding new ones.
To find those breakthroughs, you need to uncover the latent needs, the stuff customers can't even tell you they want.
Yeah, we have to understand their fundamental problems, not just listen to them complain about features. And this takes us into what's called contextual inquiry, or, ethnography.
Ethnography.
Unlike normal research, which starts with a hypothesis it wants to prove, ethnography is inductive. It's all about observation and context. The real learning happens when your team is physically in the environment where the behavior is happening.
And the sources give some amazing examples of why that's so critical. I can't stop thinking about that German farmer case study.
Oh, it's a classic.
He told the researchers his tractor was perfect, don't change a thing.
And he meant it. He thought it was perfect. But then the design team goes into his shed, and what do they find?
He had made over 20 of his own modifications to the tractor.
Over 20, rigging up levers, adding supports. Each one of those modifications was a latent, unmet need that he just solved himself because he couldn't even articulate it to the company.
So observation revealed a huge design failure that was hiding behind a satisfied customer.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's like that Cemex cement company case. They started calling themselves the Domino's Pizza of the cement industry. Their focus wasn't even on the cement itself.
No, they were mapping the customer's pain. They figured out the enormous hidden cost and just the frustration that came from a supplier not showing up on time.
Exactly. A delivery that's early or late, it can throw off an entire construction schedule. You're talking massive quantifiable waste in labor, in materials.
Hold on, so they stopped competing on the price per bag of cement and instead started selling certainty, reliability.
That's it. They moved the goalposts.
Oh.
By solving that underlying pain point with the superior guaranteed delivery service, they could actually charge a premium. They redefined value by eliminating the customer's pain.
And speaking of eliminating things, how do we get customers to get past the limits of what they think is possible? That's where customer idealized design, or CID, comes in, right?
Yes, CID. It's a powerful tool.
You ask users to pretend the current system was just destroyed overnight, and now they get to design the perfect replacement from a clean slate.
It's powerful because it forces that breakthrough thinking. Users aren't limited anymore by what they think is technically possible today. The best example is that IKEA shopping experience study.
Right. People were frustrated. They felt lost in the stores.
So in this idealized design session, they came up with an octagon-shaped building. It had this open, airy center, a huge ceiling, and an oasis in a restaurant at the very top.
And IKEA actually built it for their Chicago store. And it immediately started doing double the expected business. A massive commercial success that came directly from that wish mode design.
And this all leads us to what is really the highest level of organizational maturity in new product development. Toolkits for user innovation.
Okay.
See, the core problem is always this. The user has the need information, but the manufacturer has the solution information, the language of production.
It's the ultimate translation problem. The customer is talking about taste or feel, and the factory is talking about chemical specs and process parameters.
And that translation step is where so much time and money gets burned. Just look at Nestlé's gum division. When an executive chef designed a custom food product with normal ingredients, Nestlé would spend up to 26 weeks just translating that recipe into something the factory could actually make.
26 weeks. Half a year of just trial and error, trying to bridge that language gap. So how did the toolkit solve it?
Nestlé created a toolkit made of pre-component ingredients. These aren't just raw flour and sugar. They're complex ingredients that have already been processed on factory-identical equipment.
I see.
So when the chef designs the recipe using these pre-components, the design is already from the very beginning in the factory's language.
Wow, so it needs almost no translation.
Almost none.
Wow.
It cut the development cycle from 26 weeks down to just 3 weeks. That's a revolutionary leap in efficiency.
That's just an exponential change. It takes the bottleneck, that translation, and basically pushes it into the user's design phase. We see this with physical products too, right? Like GE Plastics with their web-based design tools.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the same principle. Those web tools for designing plastic products, they did two things. They cut customer support calls in half because the customer was doing the design work themselves.
And the second thing.
They generated new sales leads. GE could see who was using the tool and what they were trying to design. The manufacturer goes from trying to guess every customer's need to just empowering the customer to design their own perfect solution.
This has been a really insightful deep dive into what organizational innovation actually requires. We've covered getting that strategic commitment with steering committees, mastering the high-stakes transition management for big projects,
We talked about deep needs discovery with ethnography and idealized design.
and finally, reaching that pinnacle with user toolkits that outsource the design itself.
And if you connect all those dots, the one thing that really stands out is that every single tool we've talked about, it's designed to manage uncertainty. Whether it's the financial risk in a portfolio, the structural risk of a project handoffs, or just the ambiguity of what a customer truly wants, they all force these critical, objective conversations to happen early.
Which leads us to our final thought for you to explore. If you accept the premise that solving customer pain creates quantifiable value, are you spending more of your resources fixing the problems your customers complain about? Or are you spending time finding and eliminating the underlying pain points that cost them the most? Think about that value derivation process. Small operational failures that cause a little bit of customer pain, a late delivery, a missed feature, they have these huge compounding costs when you factor in customer defection rates. Customer loyalty is a function of total actions. Customers multiplied by lifetime value multiplied by the defection rate. So are you just chasing the squeaky wheel, or are you solving the core economic problem that's hidden just beneath the surface of the complaint?